Okay. Man, we are getting rolling here. We are encouraging people to vote this morning. So y'all tune in. All right, all right. We want to go ahead and welcome you to WTQT 106.1. And we got a little bit of a different flow this morning. If you have any questions or you want to call in and be a part of today's conversation, give us a call at 225 343 1075. Again, that number is 225 343 1075. This morning, we're going to just talk about voting a little bit, y'all. And we got some special guest here. He's gonna introduce himself and tell you more about his organization and what he does. But this is Eugene, Laura, and Tarcell this morning. We just gonna talk about some voting rights, and we need to get out today. This vote is very important. We can't endorse any candidate on air, but I'm gonna tell you know how to vote. You know what I'm saying? Take that for what you will. Yeah, but we're going to jump right in this conversation. Most folks are saying now that, your vote doesn't matter. And, how does my vote count and where does that change things? And, we got this brother Tarcell here on air, man, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his organization name, what they do, some students at Southern University. And the brother is a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, the greatest fraternity in all the land. So, yeah, Blue Phi. Anytime I got a brother on the set though, man. Like this, I had to shoot out one time. It wasn't even that much.
That's true. That's true because usually you go all out. Got the stump. Got the
Recite the mission. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tarcell, it's been done before. Like, we just decided, well, we gonna just go out. But man, we gonna talk about voting today. And when you think about the history, and I'm just gonna get into Phi Beta Sigma history just a little
Lord
bit.
Jesus. I thought you were talking about the history of voting.
Nah, when you think about just the history of civil rights and stuff like that, Sigmas was on the forefront with organizing.
Right. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, the 1900s. Phi Beta Sigma were definitely the ones that were coming out and supporting a lot on the forefront and stuff. So I will definitely give it to them. It's just almost every person you hear, it's like just happen to be a Phi Beta Sigma. Like just throw it out there. Like you might see a hat, you might see a little chain or something, but it just happens to be a Phi. That's all I'm saying.
Cause there's some good dudes. Everybody. Some positive things. So, it is not my fault that if every Sigma is doing something positive and we just got to have them on the show. I'm just saying, it's not my fault. It's not my fault.
That's true.
But, man, Tarcell, tell them a little bit about what you got going on, man, and a little bit about your organization. I know we got one of your professors joining us soon, right?
Right.
So, man, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
So, for everybody out there, my name is Tarcell Harris. I am a grad student at Southern University. I'm a master in political science with minors in history. So I'm here to talk to our organization today. Our organization name is the Democratic Society at Southern University. What we do is pretty much not teach people what to vote, but how to vote. We have seminars, we have programs for students on campus and in the surrounding community. We just a year-old organization. So we still trying to get our feet wet with different things, but we hopefully over the years want to evolve into a political activist organization. To if somebody want to have a rally, have anything, they can come to us.
And Laura, like this brother said something that was real important here: how to vote. Like people step in and they really don't know how to vote. And there's a lot of cheat sheets that you can find out there online. I mean, you can easily just Google it. But those prepositions, and different taxes like that come up, and folks really don't understand always how to vote on those things. I've been talking to some folks. So I just pushed the first one. I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. You got to know what it's about. And there's a lot of information out there, but maybe we need to deliver the information in a different type of way that it gets to the everyday man. And I think that's part of what your organization is trying to do, right?
So there's so much information and so much like different things that they put in amendments or different bills that they want to pass. It's so much there. So most people, don't really know how to read it. going to school for, and it'd be still hard to meet. So we try to pretty much break it down for people to understand what politicians try to do, and maybe the agenda behind doing it. So we pretty much have, like I said, we have seminars where we try to teach people, and we have these flyers on our website. We have a full website called afterthetrend.org. We have pretty much samples of the ballot hit way before time for people to look at it, study it, everything before they actually go to the polls and vote. So we have stanzas on every candidate, what they mission, what they want to achieve, their background, their position on every topic they would stand for. We have it on our website.
That's
we pretty
really,
much have a detailed website.
that's really good because unfortunately so many people just vote for a person not based on who they are, like based on who they are, not on what they stand on. Like not a lot of people know what these candidates are even working towards or what they want. So I think that's really good that you guys even point out who they are and what they stand for and what they said they're going to change or not change and do. Because I feel like so many people just do it just because they hear the name, like, oh, I heard that name, so I'm going to vote for this person. Or their parent or somebody said you should vote for this person, instead of really digging deep and figuring out who they are and what they're going to do for you as a voter, as a person.
So I will say like this, like past election cycle, and
Crazy.
and you know the numbers may not show it, but and please correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, and yourself as well. Man, it just seems like young people are starting to get why they should vote again.
I feel like
I don't know.
I feel like they finally are understanding because we had we had a show on here, Clark and Harris, on Sunday that we had some representatives who were talking about how they feel like young people are not coming out and voting. And I feel like there's a bigger chance of that now. I feel like more young people are understanding. Like we don't have to keep pounding on the fact like we work so hard for the 15th and 19th Amendments for us to have the right to vote or anything like that. I feel like we finally are understanding like this is the chance that we are getting. I feel like young people are finally getting the fact that this is an important movement. And we should acknowledge the fact that while we were growing up, I mean, it wasn't executed like it should have been. It was like, I know in my household it was, but not every household. So all these generation X's and Y's and baby boomers who are coming out of the millennials about how we're not voting, it's like, well, what did you do to say that it's important to vote? And I feel like now in 2016, we're finally getting that opportunity.
And I just noticed that energy, like, and especially with this mayor's race.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of young people that's been chiming in on it. And, you know, it's not just collegiate students either. Like, you have some folks that I've never seen politically engaged.
Right.
That have been politically engaged lately. And you know, with young people, and I guess I'm going to talk to my Generation X's, I guess. At some point, I really think it stopped being important to us.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it kind of did. But now you see this kind of motion coming back amongst young people that, you know, I haven't seen among folks in my age group. You start to see that come back and people actually want to understand. And I think a lot of it's due to social media. Like a lot of folks are being educated through some venues. And there's some dangers to that, but it's still positive that people are, for real, a lot of dangers. But it's still a tool that people feel like they can be engaged in. You know, they don't have to go to the Congress library and read books to figure out how politics work. You can click a link on Facebook and you know. So you have more people that seem to be engaged now, especially younger people than say 10 years ago. But you know, and the right to vote, man, and I can't express this enough. Like what African Americans went through, what our people went through,
Right.
just to vote, man. My grandfather used to tell me a story, you know, and I always talk about my grandfather. He was extremely powerful, man. Just when I say power, just his God that he had in him, and then this moral compass that he had in him to do what was right. You know, it was just inspiring in a sense. But you know, he was back over there from Mulata Bean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he told me the first few times he voted. Now this is a man that fought in World War II, but he said when they were voting, he took his 38 with him. You know what I'm saying? And he walked family members and friends and neighbors, to make sure. And they went in crowds to make sure that nothing happened. Like man, our people of yesteryear went through all of that to have their vote counted.
Right.
And it's so easy for us, and we don't even do it.
It's just for the 15th Amendment, though. vote, and then after that, they weren't even allowed to vote to the 19th Amendment. So then you have to even look further down, like 15th Amendment, we're allowed black men to vote. So then we think about black women, they were still making their men vote, even though they could not vote themselves. So when you think about that, that's one of my reasons of why I registered to vote when I was 17. Because I was like, all the history down part of it, especially especially during my family, because we were big on that, about the fact that even though we women couldn't vote, we still pushed it so that our men were there to make their voice heard. And I think that's why it's important to do it. But I feel like even though more and more people of the younger generation is going out to vote, I still think they're being so ignorant and arrogant about who to vote for. Like, I think some of them are still trying to figure out the basis of who these people are. Like, when you have all these debates about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump during the president, or during the mayor with Sharon Weston Broome and C. Denise Marshall. I mean, I feel like there were still some things missing. I still feel like, okay, well, she's a Democrat, so I'm gonna vote for Hillary. Or, well, I've seen Sharon Weston Broome, so I'm gonna vote for her. Like, I'm not saying who you should vote for, but I'm just saying, look and find out who these people are before you make a general topic or before you get into discussion. I feel like that's what's missing. Yeah, people vote more, but I feel like they're still being ignorant about who these people really are. Like, really do your research before you say you're going to vote for this person.
And I agree with that, and that's pretty much something that our organization looked at. I believe, I let a lot of people say, like, our ancestors died for us the right to vote.
Right.
Yeah, we know we got the right to vote, but you got to use your vote to actually make a difference. Like,
exactly.
That's why we want to teach people how to vote. So I think that's something that people still don't really grasp on, like how to vote. Like, I think we are nonpartisan organization, so we don't support one candidate or other. We should tell the whole side.
Right.
We tell Democrat, Republican, third party, everything. Because I think it's dangerous to just vote for a party just because it's a Democrat party, or vote for a Republican just because they're a Republican party.
That's a good point.
Every candidate is different. Every candidate in the Republican Party is different. Every candidate in the Democratic Party is different. So I think that's just a dangerous topic. Or just because my grandmother or friend is voting for Sharon Weston Broome, I should vote for her too.
Right.
I think this we actually get down into the details.
That's not a bad idea though. I don't think so. Right? I think I'm good.
You think you should? But can we emphasize that this organization is at HBCU? Can we emphasize that, please? Because I feel like so many people want to downgrade Southern University, especially. Can we emphasize these are black, young? Because this is ranging what, undergrad and graduate, correct? So these are 18 to probably 24, 25-year-olds who are doing this right now. Can we emphasize that? Because I feel like I'm 26 and I graduated from Southern University. Everybody's like, oh, you went to Southern? I don't see you doing it. Yes, I went to Southern. We need to emphasize there's still many black young people who care and who are educated. I mean, I don't know how many people have said that Southern is just throwing degrees away. No. These are smart, educated people who want this, who are educating not just themselves, but others in the community. And I applaud that, because that is something that we need more of.
I can speak on that. I graduated my undergrad at LSU. I went to my master's now at Southern.
Right.
I actually felt at home at Southern. So I felt my place, I felt purpose when I stepped on the Southern campus. And that's something I never felt in my undergrad. So I knew going to Southern what I had to do to teach people how to vote, show people how to vote, and I know that was a place. So yeah.
Bring it back to the community.
Bring it back to the community. I felt my place. I felt welcome. I felt I have a sense of purpose when I did went to Southern.
That's good, because we need more of that. I feel like people are downgrading Southern like it's not good or anything, and trying to bring it back to the HBCUs like it's important. When you have people like Wendy Williams who can't even spell HBCU or name 5 of them, and have the nerve to ask, as a black one, and especially Wendy Williams, because she did so much not just for journalists, but for black women journalists in like the 70s and 80s. I'm surprised that somebody like that would be like, well, how come we have HBCUs? So this is a good reason why we need to educate and show. Like, this is the reason. This is the exact reason why we need to put more money into not just HBCUs, but just that community in general.
Right.
On Scenic Highway, by Baker, Scotlandville, all of that, because that's where these students are. Because you had to live by LSU to go to Southern. That's what I did. I lived right there off of Burbank. It was traveling 20 minutes just to get to Southern.
Yeah.
And can I say that Boston campus support HBCUs?
I mean, you can. You the guest, right? Yeah, you might want to say it again a little louder, though.
Okay, can I just say Boston campus support HBCUs?
All right.
But that's just the point. That's a point to say.
That's a point to say.
And
That's a point to say.
Okay,
we're cool.
We're cool with saying that.
We treading that line, but we cool. But man, if you out there listening, if you looking at this feed right now and you have not voted today, go vote. And I'm gonna keep it real with y'all for a second. You know, I'm out of South Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I grew up in an old Baptist church, right? So, at times I got to keep it real.
Right.
So I know y'all going to the Gus Young parade, right? And what time it is? So it's 11:24. Parade just started. Now I know you're gonna have it just started. I know you're gonna walk to the little corner store right there at the corner. What that is, Gus Young and Foster right there. You're gonna get your little Mad Dog and stuff like that. But don't drink the second Mad Dog. Leave yourself capable of driving to the polls if you're out there listening. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real right now. Leave yourself capable, man. Today is too important for us to get out there and start having fun, start drinking, and just forget about going to vote.
But if you
I'm just keeping it real.
But if you do drink and you feel a little
take an Uber.
If you have a little day buzz, that's fine. To the downtown parade at 5 o'clock. You are right there, right by City Hall. Doesn't close until 8 o'clock. So that's fine. If you want to have your fun today, have your fun. But you can sober up enough to go to the polls before it closes because you got till 8. So let's just point that out. If you can't make it right now, at least try to do it before 8 o'clock. Because it's just too important. It's too many opportunities where, I mean, early voting was a bigger improvement than it was for the last time, from what I hear, but it still wasn't the number that they thought it would be. So I still feel like we have that opportunity to get the numbers that we need, and it's definitely important today. Because trust me, it is not a coincidence that the voting be the day of the Gus Young parade. Please do not think it's a coincidence.
And I don't think anybody does. But even if there was a
discussion.
Oh Lord, then
there was a discussion, and do not think that people do not care, because there was a fight to try to either move the last day of election or to move the Gus Young parade to a different day. They couldn't do both. So please do not think that that people didn't try, and don't believe that it wasn't a coincidence. Just be open-minded.
Yeah. So if you go to the Gus Young parade, and then you want to go to the other parade, you go to the Gus Young parade and you have fun like Laura used to have fun out there back in the day. I don't talk about Laura. I ain't gonna talk about me. So if you do that, there's guys out there like Antoine Pierce that just riding around giving people rides to the polls today. If you need a ride, hit me up. Facebook message me. I will come take you to the polls if you want to get there. Getting out and voting today is important. Like if we didn't learn anything else from the presidential election, I think we should have learned how important it is to vote and know that our vote counts, man. And we have to get out and get this thing done today. Too much is on the line today to sit this one out. And people say black people don't vote twice. I don't believe that. I ain't gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, today is too important. Get out and vote. Get to the polls. Like, it's gonna be some stuff done. And they got I see Tasha Clark and Mars. She just chimed in Gus Young parade, Cheneyville parade, and the downtown parade all today. Mm-hmm. So you got all those parades today. But look, stop and vote in between. I know today is one of those parade days, one of those fun days, but you ain't gonna miss number 2 or 3 beads.
Right.
It ain't like they throwing. Look. I will go to Party City and get you some beads.
You can wait till February for Mardi Gras if you really want to parade. And for the college students, I know it's the end of finals. I know y'all are. Look right here. I know it's the end of finals. I know it's the end of finals. All you want to do is just sleep in, get ready to party and celebrate tonight. I know those grads. I know y'all excited. Next week is y'all graduation. Do not get the party started too early. Go ahead, take that little early vote. It's gonna take you nothing but a minute just to get up and just do it.
Yeah. And see, we even got love my fraternity. We even got another brother on the feed said he going to vote right after work. SU in the house. Go mob. You left that on the feed, Man,
Once
that's,
again, just
that's my
having to
brother.
throw out that
Call,
is
that's Carlos Jean from Lafayette. That boy,
Can I
Katie
just say
stuff.
that
Yeah.
Parker Sigma is the best fraternity?
You said
you might as well. I mean, she
Okay.
says it. That's what I'm saying. He just drops it every other time.
Well, I let everybody know. but man, we talk about this voting issue, and man, there's this vote today.
It's important.
It's gonna sculpt our city for the next 4 years.
Exactly. Because, I mean, can we just say
It's
that
really
already,
important.
just for nationally, like we have a Republican president, the House and Senate are 90% Republican. I mean, we are and we live in a Republican state. I'm just saying, our numbers, we need these numbers a little bit up. It would be nice to have a little little Democrat in Baton Rouge. I can just throw that out there. Just saying, it would be nice.
Yeah, you hit the point hard, so I think
I
you
can't
clear.
put it to- I can't
I think
put
you
it to
clear.
five.
Yeah.
I work here. I can't put it to five.
Well, I need these little dimes. So, but the thing is when and I really hope people are hearing this out there. And I know every outlet today is basically
pushing it,
doing
yeah.
something
It's
around
gonna be
folks
all
voting.
day.
Yeah, it's gonna be all day today. So you're gonna hear this message all day today. And tomorrow, if you wake up and don't like the results and you did not vote, shut up. Don't say a
I don't
word.
want to hear nothing.
Don't
from
go
you.
on Instagram. Don't go on Facebook. Don't go on Snapchat. Don't give me no sorry excuse about how your vote doesn't count and nothing's going to change. You don't know because you didn't vote. I don't want to hear that. I know I can say that. I just said it. So, the importance of getting out and voting, man. We got to do this. And again, and I'm speaking to everybody. But for African Americans, our voter turnout hadn't been what we needed it to be. Like, make sure that that's the case today. Before you get that drink, before you get that daiquiri, in between these parades, go out and vote,
Be sober
man.
enough to vote. And if it's any time to be a good African American, it is today. I mean, African American females, we are killing it right now. 2016, we are the most educated people in the United States. Just throwing that out there, too. That's the facts. So if any time is a good point to be proud to be black, it is now. So educate that black vote and go take your black behind to the voting polls.
Now, if you got any questions today about, voting or something that we might can clear up for you, give us a call at 225-343-1075. Again, that number is 225-343-1075. And, you got to get out and vote. Got to get out and vote. And this brother here from Southern, this is just a quick little hit, just kind of reminding people to get out and vote today. But, Torcell, tell us a little bit more about what your organization does. I know you talked about the training seminars and stuff like that and the things that you're educating folks on.
Right.
Before we get there, I got 2 Jaguars on set, right? 2 Southern University Jaguars. Now, I ain't going to talk about you too bad because you're my frat brother, so you excuse just a little bit. But just a little bit, just not much. I ain't no Jaguar, but I mention that all the time too. But I've been wanting to know this for a while. And this is a serious question.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the Jaguar?
What you mean?
Well, the Jaguar that was in the cage, the living animal.
Really?
Where did he go?
Man,
Is he over there in Schuylerville?
Probably so. He died like a couple of years ago, from at Southern, and they basically Southern, I love you, but basically they didn't want to pay for someone to take care of, another Jag.
But tell me this. Did the Jaguar even get a funeral? I saw Mike Tyke had a funeral.
Man,
Mike
we
Tyke
are
had a funeral.
not,
He
we
had
are not like no offense
all
to
kind
the
of stuff,
LSU
man.
grad over
Why
here.
y'all? But I feel like y'all need to do a funeral for the Jaguar.
Man, look, ain't nobody got time. I just want to know from look, we're not like LSU where we can't afford to pay for our students to go to school or to afford TOPS, because I heard that only TOPS is taking care of $1,500 for LSU. We don't have that kind of money, but somehow we are making sure that LSU Mike the Tiger gets all the treatment, all the cancer, all the hospital bills. We taking care of all of that, but we're not making sure that our students know. Southern is like, look, we can't help. We can't help our students. We definitely cannot help a living jaguar, a living cat. So we're not like LSU that's just, oh, we don't have the money, but somehow we have enough money to take care of a Tiger.
All I said was that
That
y'all
still
could
died.
have gave the Jaguar funeral. Y'all could have
We
been
don't
around
have,
the cage
if we
with some
already know that we
flowers.
don't have the money for it, we ain't
Y'all
about to
could
lie
have
and
y'all
be
could
like,
have
oh,
pulled the trumpet player out the band.
I'm so done with you.
Some man. I know y'all got about 17 preachers on campus. Somebody could have done something. That's all I'm saying. That's all
And
I'm
a
saying.
deacon.
And a
I
deacon.
know we have a deacon. I know a math teacher is a deacon.
That's all I'm saying. We like y'all should have
Look, we not even gonna
memorialized.
front.
Y'all could have sent out a press release. Some.
I'm so over
Some.
you.
So, but Tricia, like, what are some of the things your organization is doing to educate people on voting? I'm just trying to find out about y'all. Nobody ever asked my question about the Jaguar. I'm gonna keep asking it until somebody asks.
I'm so done.
I just want to point out I wasn't at Southern when it happened.
No, but
so,
you're part of the heritage.
But our organization, we pretty much we host a tent on campus every day. No matter if it's raining, it's cold, we out there. For anybody who have questions on campus, we come up and ask us a question. We register people to vote. We gave people ballots, like sample ballots for them to take, study over. We have a presence on social media. We always posting on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, every day. We have videos where we just talking about different topics that we think people want to hear. We have the website aftertrend.org, which you can go in there and find all information about organization, about the candidate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and at the federal level. And we pretty much have different ideas coming up. We have a new program where we're going to start about the report card. So we're going to start it in the spring semester. So what's going to be every promise that politicians in Baton Rouge pretty much came up, said they was going to do, we're going to hold them accountable for it. And we're going to have it so when city council meetings come up, we're going to have something to give people, to give to the city council, to show them that you said this during your election, but you ain't do that yet. Yeah. So we want to hold politicians accountable to actually do what they say they're going to do.
That's a good point.
Toss a name out there when you talk about voting rights, and this is a guy who I think sometimes is forgotten in civil rights because you didn't have a lot of recorded speeches on him, and some of the technology just wasn't quite there yet, and we just don't talk about him a lot, and that's Medgar Evers. You know, he built his entire platform around registering people to vote and getting folks out to vote and teaching people the importance of their vote. And, and a lot of the things that you are saying, it's like his platform to the T. And I think that we forget about, the track of this man and the importance that he had on getting people and mobilizing people to vote. And you gotta think about it, like this man, Medgar Evers, and this is gonna tell you a little bit about the importance of voting. They thought him so dangerous that they didn't even take out any complicated plan in killing him. Right. Somebody just went up in his driveway and shot him right there. Yeah. So that tells you how important he was and how effective his message was getting out and how dangerous his message was to some of those right-wing folks. So, when you think about that, and sometimes I think about Medgar Evers like if he had lived another 20, 30, 40, 50 years and really started to create some traction on this thing about getting people out to vote, how different would, our communities be? And I think Medgar Evers is often forgot about in this track, because he didn't do the fancy things. Right. He was a community organizer in the sense.
But that's what we're missing nowadays is like somebody in the community who is voicing out. Like I went to this forum where it was this black professor talking about black rights, civil rights movement, and everything. And I was surrounded by white people, Caucasian people, and there was a guy who asked the question that I laughed at, but I couldn't laugh out loud. But he was like, he's like, I go to a lot of these forums, I go to a lot of these debates and stuff, and when I'm surrounded by black politicians, a lot of the black politicians and stuff, and a lot of the times, instead of, if somebody asks them a question, instead of really answering the question, instead they are debating each other. Like they're just kind of talking to each other instead of really answering the question. Like they're saying, well, I did blah 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 and this person didn't, or they'll throw shade. Well, he didn't say shade obviously, but he threw shade or whatever at each other. And I just want to know, like, I don't understand. Is that a community thing? It's just if that's just how it is. And I laugh to myself because that literally happens at almost every debate lately, especially with everything that's going on. And so basically, the black professor said, well, honestly, they're basically trying to be like the black friend of the black person who the white people go to. Like they're trying to be that black voice or whatever. And instead of just having that one person be the black voice of the majority, it should be multiple. And it shouldn't just be one person, because one person can speak for the majority of everybody.
Right.
Because there's different districts, there's different problems in the community. So it's not fair to have that one person be the majority of everybody. Because in District 5, there are different problems than there are in District 10.
Right.
And there, of course, there's different black people who feel there are different problems in each community. So I can't say what's the problem of District 5 because I'm not in District 5. So I think it's unfair that a lot of these black politicians or black representatives are just trying to speak for one. It's more than just one. There's more districts, there's more problems in just one part of one community. There's different problems. And that, I think, is the biggest problem right now, is that so many people want to be that one voice. We need more than one voice. We need more than one representative. And I feel like people are not wanting to just stay in the community. They want to be the speaker. They want to be the representative of everybody. And I think that's not fair.
And really, I see, you look at other community, they together. When it's time for an issue to come up, they come together.
Right.
So that the black community we separated. And it's been like that from, just history shows us, from Booker T. Washington to W.B. Du Bois, from W.B. Du Bois again, and Marcus Garvey. They always, separated, and it's separating the ideology with each other. And it's from, even with Malcolm X and Dr. King, it just separates, and they have followers that listen to and agree with them.
Right.
But they're not working together. For a common issue, they work inside each other, button heads.
But I feel like when Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, when they first came out anyway, I feel like there were more people who understood, because I don't know about you, when I grew up in elementary school, we were taught that Malcolm X was the bad person and Martin Luther King was awful. But when they were doing everything in the 60s, I think the black people understood that even though they were completely two different, they still represented two different communities, but they still represented all of the black people. Like Malcolm X, of course, was more of a, I won't say violent, but he was like, if you're gonna bring a gun, I'm gonna make sure I have a gun too. But he still wanted the same things that Martin Luther King wanted, but he approached everything with just peace. Like no matter what they do to us, we're still gonna come at them peacefully. So even though there were two different men, two different methods, two different backgrounds in general, they still wanted the same thing, but they represented different communities. And I think that's what people are missing. And I feel like in the 60s, especially the black people, they understood that. They understood the methods. But nowadays, we don't have people who understand the difference of communities, backgrounds, or anything like that. I feel like we're just being like, you know what? We're going to pick that's one person, and that's it. I feel like that's unfair. Mm-hmm. If that one person's going to be mayor, that's awesome. But let's not forget about the mayor can't take care of everybody. That's why there's different representatives for different districts. But the districts still need to come together and be like, okay, these are the issues in my district. What are your issues? Okay, let's find the problem and let's figure out the solution together instead of having just one person represent everybody. That's just not fair. That doesn't make any sense.
But Laura, I think this is that all of these guys developed and maintained their niche. And when I say that, if you look at, I'm going to say what top 4 most influential African American leaders that we've seen in this, and I'm going to just use this century because you can go back to some other folks that you mentioned, but I'm just going to use more recent history. You're going to say, Barack Obama. You're going to say Dr. King.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say Meg Evans. You know,
Mm-hmm.
although it was a little more brief than others, but those are the four people that you're going to talk about. But these brothers all knew their niche and stayed in their lane too.
Right.
And it made it okay for them to work together because none of them were stepping over one another.
No, right.
Yeah, Dr. King and Malcolm's platform was so different. Dr. King preached one side, Malcolm preached the other, but you needed both. You know, Mega was an organizer. He wasn't. He was going to try to push people to vote, like we talked about in the importance of letting folks know how to vote and training them on the vote, getting them to the polls and teaching them the importance of it. Like that was Mega's role. And Barack, he was a politician. You know, so you see these leaders, you know, be in very different facets, but all perfecting their niche. So that was, you know, I think we need leaders to get back to that. Like this is what you're good at. So I need you to do this to your very best ability,
right,
as much as you can in the community. Like Meg Evans, and I keep bringing him back because I think like we overlook his importance. And if we had an organizer like Mr. Evans today that just focused on voting, I think it would do a lot more to help our community. And we got organizers that focus on voting. Don't get me wrong. There's some folks that do, but what I'm saying is just somebody just to take a look at voting. And just to react very highly with a high capacity of getting this thing done. But these guys were so different in a sense that they perfected their niche and they rolled with it that they never had to really block lanes for each other because they knew what their lanes were. And they done it to perfection for their people.
Right.
I mean, you got to think about it historically.
Right, but you made a good point of they perfected. Everybody wants to do like 10, 20 other projects and then be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm good at. That's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Yeah. And we're almost out of time. We are out of time. Just about. But man, just quickly, man, tell us a little bit about your argument. Oh, that's just, Professor, we can stay on there a few more minutes and talk about voting, huh, Lori?
Yeah,
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
Let's go ahead and get your professor here. The professor is here now. You know, this the lady that she didn't put this stuff together and all that stuff. So we got her here. That's a professor.
Right.
She looked like one of the teachers. She looked like one of the students. I mean. Yeah. Oh, you. So she a professor. Now, what's your name?
My name's Angel.
Angel. What's your last name?
Bradford.
Angel Bradford's in the house, and she's here to have a little discussion on voting and stuff like that. And you caught us at the very end, so we're gonna take about what? We're gonna take about 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes to talk about this thing. And man, Tercella's told us a lot about what the organization does, and we got deep in here. We started talking about Meg Evans, and you know, it's always good to have an intelligent conversation with a brother from Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
Here we go.
You know what I'm saying?
Here we go. Name drop.
Always good, always good. But tell us a little bit about what y'all got going on. And it's great to see, that you guys are taking an active part in getting folks, out to vote as a university.
As
That's
an
awesome.
as an HBCU.
She keep dropping it because she went to Southern. And
University.
see, we're gonna talk about voting first, but before we end this show, I got another question to ask you, and I hadn't been able to get no answer on it. But
No, we're not gonna worry about that. We're not gonna worry. No, we're not gonna worry about that. You got 4 minutes.
Crazy?
I'm gonna
No,
it's only
no.
gonna take 30 seconds.
No.
Yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about what Southern got going on with voting and what your organization is doing.
Okay. I don't know what to pick. Like this?
Yeah.
So Southern, as far as this semester, has been very interesting, because the student organization, so you told me about them. So Democratic Society of Southern University is what we work with, and it's been a lot of fun. Like we're just trying to get people to be activists and not just social media crazy and achieve nothing, and just show students yes, there's a system, yes, you want to dismantle it, but there's a way to do it without being reckless or in order to be strategic about it. And so that's what this whole semester has been about, just enlightening people and then giving them the tools to act on that.
I like that you said about social media because so many people want to be social media stars. Like they just want to be in the know. If you have 10 million followers, you you hot right now. So I like the fact that you guys are trying to get out of that box and be like, you have to do more than just do it on social media. Like, you need to be a part of this movement. So I would love that. I love that you guys are doing that.
Right.
Tell us about some of the just the awesome training programs that you guys have around teaching people not only how to vote but why to vote. Like, why is that so important, and how are you reaching your students on this stuff?
No, it's actually stressful because I've probably spent 50%. Like I'm like, you know, half my time is I'm awake is working on my student stuff, and then the other half I'm working with them on the Democratic Society because okay, wait, let me think about your question. So you're asking about how have the workshops been, or like how is it trying to teach them?
That's both.
Ah, it's hard. It's harder than you would think because, like, I think there's this misconception that just because you know that, like, you know, there's a corruption with the criminal justice system and politics, that somehow that's enough. And so getting students to actually act on it has been incredibly hard. But once they get it and they have the aha moment, we're like, okay, great, like, you get it, so either you can join us or you can at least tell your family and friends. So that's what we've been doing, like just trying to get people to spread their influence in a way that's actually tangible. Which surprisingly, social media is not always the way to do that.
Right.
It's just a way to start a conversation, or like I always tell our students, like it's a way to remind people about stuff, but it's not a way to educate.
That's
really not.
No, Ms. Angel. I absolutely love what y'all got going on there. And what's the name of your organization again?
It's Democratic Society on Southern University.
SUBR. Now, Ms. Angel, important question, you know. And I've asked a lot of students this question, and no student's been able to tell me. I've asked graduates and alumni, nobody's been able to tell me.
I got 1 minute.
I got 1 minute. Nobody's been able to tell me. Ms. Angel.
Yes.
Tell us.
Something crazy.
What happened to that Jaguar?
Our Jaguar on campus, like the live tiger.
He died.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like but I think he died of like illness.
Yeah.
But I don't want to misquote what illness that was.
Was it high blood pressure?
No, it wasn't high blood pressure.
Why would you say just because black people have a
Right.
die of high blood pressure? Like
It might have been old age.
It was old.
I think it was just old age, but it wasn't something crazy. But he's not coming back.
Cause see, I heard he was over at Scotlandville, but
No.
that he was not. But I mean,
Thank
part two
you.
of this question, you know, and I got 30 more seconds. You told
No.
me in a minute. Why you ain't had a Jaguar at no funeral? Mike the Tiger had a funeral. People
Funerals
was
cost
caged
money,
with
and I think
flowers.
it would have made
and
more
toys.
sense to
Thank you.
cremate.
Anyway, thank you guys so much
Yeah.
for being.
But see, that's the
Thank you.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm sorry. I done wasted water
So much, y'all.
on the
No, thank
equipment.
you
Let me get
guys
some
so
towels. Thank y'all for joining us today, man. Remember, get out and vote.